The first one is Ms. Retang Patla, who is closest to me. She's the co-founder of Sitsong Tea Crafters. So this is an entity that has successfully commercialized two plants as tea, but she'll tell us more about it. So they are based in Limpopo, but they will tell us more about themselves, really. And then we have Dr. Amanda Kabashe, who's a specialist in traditional medicine. She has got a wealth of experience gained from the South African Bureau of Standards. And then next to her, we have Pujabu Stone, whom most of us will know him. You know, he's got a well-established global brand, in my view, in hair care. But he will tell us again more about what Jabu Stone is. And we have Prof. Mamo from TUT. He will also give us more information as he will talk to us. In this session, let me mention it, ladies and gentlemen, we shall have quite a combination of approaches. Some of us shall do PowerPoint presentations. Some will talk, from the notes they've prepared. So it's just going to be a good mix. But all of us, I think, have promised to keep to time, and we trust that we shall be able to do that. So what we'll talk about is industrialization, commercialization, and beneficiation of IK-based bio-innovations. So as I had said that Sitsong, where Ms. Pasha comes from, is one of the entities that has TIA. For example, we have undertaken support together with the IDC through the fund that we've jointly established between TIA and the IDC called the NIP Fund. NIP Fund, in full, it's we call it the Natural and Indigenous Products Program. So it's a joint effort between ourselves as TIA and the IDC to fund entities whom the DSI had previously invested in. So as I had mentioned previously, that TIA was established particularly to bridge the innovation chasm, to ensure that research and development that was previously invested in by the DSI directly or through the entities such as the NRF gets to the market. So that's where we come in. So this is the kind of an end that we see and we shall see, for example, in organizations such as Sitsong Tea Crafters. So I will, without much ado, give I think the podium to Retang to take us through what she has prepared. I think her presentation is on the desk, so I think they are ready. So Retang, you may take the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Retang Patla from Sitsong Tea Crafters. Today's session is all about nothing for Africa without Africans, and I hope that the story of Sitsong can be an example of what we are trying to do in terms of the commercialization of IKS-based innovations. Okay. So at Sitsong, we've positioned ourselves as the tea makers of Skukune land. Skukune land is also known as Vapedi land. It's not an area that is typically known to grow tea. In fact, when many people think just of South African tea, the main, if not only tea that comes to many minds is rooibos tea. And as that, what was mentioned in the previous session is that South Africa is the third most biodiverse country in the world. So it really shouldn't be the case where we only know of a South African tea as a rooibos tea. Through a process of asset-based community development, which was led by our partner organization, Siapila Youth Support Services, which is founded by Mam Nondumiso Patla. she took on an effort to do a process of asset mapping within Skukune land to find out, what are the what's the economic potential within Skukune? Coming from, we originally come from Rapahla. We were really bothered by the fact that there's a lack of employment, any commercial or economic activity. And this asset mapping process led us to find that there's a deep amount of indigenous knowledge lying within these rocky, dry landscapes of Sekhukhune. And as has been mentioned in the previous session, a lot of this indigenous knowledge lies within marginalized communities, and especially with the elders. And we were bothered by the fact that this indigenous knowledge is also not being passed down to the next generation. Many young people are flooding to the cities to seek employment. And we were seeking a way to create a platform to actually commercialize this indigenous knowledge. And within our process of asset mapping, we discovered, we were led, not discovered, the community led and educated us about 2 indigenous plants that they've been consuming, Bapedi in general have been consuming for many generations, but these had never been commercialized. The first one being the Dia red root tea. In Sepedi, it's fully known as Sefapa by Dia, but we've shortened it to Dia. And analysis has found from the SABS, CSIR, Agricultural Research Council as well, has found that it naturally contains calcium, zinc, and fiber. And within traditional use, it's been used to naturally detox the body, reduce blood pressure and cholesterol. But what's fascinating about it is that it also provides a natural floral taste. So it's really actually enjoyable, and it provides good grounds to actually be developed into a functional beverage. The second one is the Tepane Black Bush tea, which traditionally in Sekhukhune has been consumed to actually improve the immune system, balance the hormones, and analysis has found that it contains a variety of amino acids, vitamins, and minerals. And it also provides a natural vanilla taste. So we worked with the community. We structured the Sejong entity into one holding company where we have cooperatives. So we've got 2 cooperatives comprised of youth and women. And there's one cooperative for the Dia and another for the Tepane Black Bush tea. But we realized that in order to develop this into a commercial product, we have to innovate. We have to include young minds as well. And that's one of the things about IKS, is that I believe that it's also not going to move forward into the future if we're not including young people. So as young people coming from Sekhukhune, we sat around the table and put our minds together. How can we develop this indigenous knowledge into a product that can appeal to modern generations, that can go into the future and not stay as something that has just been consumed by the elderly members of Sekhukhune. So we developed a range that we feel would appeal, but by incorporating traditional Bapedi colors and the story of Bapedi as well. So we created a range of different infusions for different benefits. And like I mentioned, it's all about functional beverages. We spoke about food as medicine. So we developed a beverage that could also act as medicine, but that can be enjoyed by many people. So, we've got infusion for detox with lemon, ginger, and berry, a strawberry and fennel sleep tea, calming tea. We've got hormone balance teas, an immunity tea, and so forth. Energy, flu. So we really took time to look at what are the needs of the people, you know, and how can we provide a solution that speaks to the people based on IKS. And even when we looked at the market, we found that just the African tea market is projected to grow by 2025, and specialty tea is gaining more and more popularity in the South African tea market, in the actually the global tea market. And health and wellness are major factors that are boosting the demand, despite their higher than average prices. So we spoke earlier about how sometimes the quality is compromised of our products because we want to enter we want to commercialize and make products mainstream. But we found that we're finding that consumers, upon education, are willing to pay those higher prices. So we don't have to compromise the quality, and we can actually give them products that are organic. And consumers, particularly millennials, are becoming more engaged with products. They want to know more about the stories of the people behind the products, the communities that are benefiting from the value chains. And that's why even around the world, issues such as fair trade are becoming more and more a marketing tool as well. But it's really important for us to display the impact of our business through this venture. And that leads me also to our value chain. Like I mentioned, we've got cooperatives that are working. At the moment, we're wild harvesting, but you know, through efforts of the Agricultural Research Council, we're also cultivating, doing trials towards cultivation. But jobs are created within Limpopo, within the rural areas, through harvesting, grinding, sieving, you know, infusions, packaging, and distribution. And this is where the beneficiation comes in, and how beneficiation can create more jobs. And it just shows how much value we can create in beneficiation and not just selling raw material. And how factories and industrial areas can be developed within the rural areas. And as I mentioned before, we were really bothered by the fact that young people were flooding to the cities to seek employment. So it's really important for us to create these jobs within the rural areas, and it really is possible, especially through partnerships and initiatives like that of TIA, IDC, and the DSI. There's a little bit about our team. We've upskilled women within the rural areas to be within executive management positions. You know, through different capacity building initiatives, you know, rural women are sitting as production managers, quality assurance managers, and overseeing different positions within the organization. Women who otherwise wouldn't have been in such type of leadership positions, but through this platform on training initiatives like Coach Lab, it's really empowered these women to lead the organization. And this is just an example of where products like these can end up within the hospitality industry. We're supplying different retail outlets, health stores, online. It's really a product that spreads through different distribution channels. And there's potential locally and internationally to spread these type of products into mainstream markets, and like Food Lovers Market. We recently have won an award to supply Food Lovers Market. But we're looking at other retailers and opportunities around the country as well. These are the stakeholders that are supporting us. We've been supported by the GIZ, as mentioned, Department of Science and Innovation, Agricultural Research Council, CSIR, and TIA. We've won a few awards at the Johannesburg Chamber of Commerce. At this very convention in 2019, we were awarded Bio-Entrepreneur as well. Our vision is to provide consumers with an authentic health offering that is rooted in ancient African knowledge. And we really want to celebrate South Africa's culture and biodiversity and leave a legacy which is impactful and generational, and really build the rural economy. Before I close, I just want to play a video that illustrates an example of how we can innovate and actually utilize innovative marketing strategies to market IKS. So this was a campaign. I'm going to play a video of a campaign we recently did with Mazda. You know, for us, it was like a surprise. Why would a vehicle company like Mazda be interested in an IKS story? But this illustrates the potential of really telling the stories of marginalized communities with big brands, big international brands, and really tell the story of rural communities in South Africa and really share our heritage. To me, community means being able to lean on the people around you, regardless of whether you are biologically related or not. My name is Retang Phahla. I founded a tea business in Limpopo with my mother. I really relate to the Japanese philosophy of kachu fugetsu, just about how nature provides. Nature provides healing, food, a sense of balance and harmony within oneself. I apply that concept through our business, through really utilizing the herbs and plants that nature provides and processing it in a way that really speaks to the senses, your sense of smell, taste, and overall well-being and wellness. If it were not for my mother, I wouldn't have found the fulfillment that I found through the work that I do today. We complement each other in different ways. She's ensuring that the community is included, is happy, and I look more at the day-to-day business in terms of product development, getting product to market, and generating revenue. From the first sip of a cup of tea, I get a sense of harmony, calm, meditation, an escape for that moment where it's just me and my brew of tea. More especially a sense of pride that we're honoring and promoting indigenous knowledge systems through every brew of tea. Thank you very much. Just a disclaimer, I didn't get to keep the car, unfortunately. Thank you.
Wow, that's a very impressive story, you know, how far the commercialization of indigenous knowledge-based bioinnovations can go. I will ask just one question from Retang before we go to the next speaker. I'll do the same to the next speaker. And then after the next speaker, then we'll open to all of us that we could ask to any of our panelists. But what I wanted to ask, it's specifically around the issue of benefit sharing. I heard what you mentioned regarding ownership of Setsong Tea Crafters, where you talked about 2 cooperatives, and also I think when you talked to about job creation or employment, you mentioned 20 permanent jobs and 15 casual jobs. But I just want to understand that, and this is my understanding of what's involved in the production of the 2 tea products or plants that you use, the red root and the bush tea. There must be indigenous knowledge that resides with the people who actually do the harvesting for you. For example, it's not like you employ somebody who comes and they just dig and they bring whatever. There is indigenous knowledge that resides in the people who actually supply you with the raw material that we then process. Now, what I want to understand is what systems do you have of ensuring that there is proper and also a bankable system of benefit sharing for those people? And I understand when they produce and when they deliver to you, the red root or the bush that you shall use in Tipani or Dia, you pay them for as suppliers. But now, again, as owners of the indigenous knowledge, what systems do you have other than the forms of employment that you have? Because I'm just thinking if you have these jobs for these people and tomorrow or maybe 5 years down the line, the executive as its own decides that, we want to operate this from Gauteng and not from Limpopo, where the indigenous knowledge holders are based. What 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 security is there for the indigenous knowledge holders in form of benefit sharing that for example would ensure that their rights are protected in how they do business together with Sitsong, that their benefit is not just guaranteed insofar as the next kilogram that they produce, that they give to you of the root, because the benefit and the knowledge that the value of what they give you is not really entailed just in the kilograms of raw material that they give you. So I just, if you could give us what security can somebody who's listening at this story can get regarding the extent to which the rights of the knowledge holders and the people of Sekhukhune who are holders of this traditional knowledge, are protected. Thanks.
Question. So for us, we went through a process of signing benefit sharing agreements with different tribal authorities. So the areas in which we're harvesting, we have not only just identified people to harvest and supply us with raw material, but we had to go and sit down with the chiefs, the tribal authorities of each community, and sit down at the table, present our business model, and also negotiate a contract, a benefit sharing agreement with them, which then, for them, provides a royalty for the benefits accrued for commercialization of those products. So in the case of the Tepane tea, we've signed benefit sharing and access agreements. So those are access providers, the holders of indigenous knowledge within those communities. So we had to sign benefit sharing agreements that regardless of if we decide to replant and start, getting producing our own material, we need to still provide royalties to those communities. But I feel that even through now there's a IKS registration center, we would like to take it a step further and actually sit down with the Sekhukhune royal family, and also because this is Vapedi indigenous knowledge. So similar to how the Khoisan communities have structured it, we'd also require more assistance to go a step higher, not just look at local communities and those chiefs, but also look at the Vapedi royal council and see how we can also structure benefit sharing agreements and also accredit this as Vapedi indigenous knowledge. Thank you.
Wow, thanks. I think that's a mouthful, but it just guarantees us, that what we're saying, that the laws of this country have been developed in such a manner that they protect the interests of the indigenous knowledge holders. But I'm impressed to hear that, this is the extent to which Sitsong has gone into making sure that they professionalize that relationship and that the rights of those people are protected through and through. So we'll move over to our next panelist, Gokcapashe. I think she said she doesn't have a presentation, but I'll ask her to come and give her speech, even though it's verbal from this podium. So you can give a round of applause, please.
I'm going to try not to give a speech, but be brief. Topics like this, and coming at the end of the 2 sessions we've just had, I think my job is easy because I do believe that the presentations before covered a lot of the aspects about how we've got to be conscious about what it is that we are doing. So I did think about it a little bit, is that speaking to young people, because there's a lot of young people here, young researchers, and we need you to be conscious. We need you to be conscious and understand your imperative to drive transformation. Transformation is not a government thing. It's not an institutional thing. It's a thing that you need to do when you get into an institution and you are conducting research, that you must ask yourself the question, will my grandmother be proud of me in the way we are conducting this work? Because if we are not able to start rooting ourselves in our culture, in our being, it will mean that you've come into a system, because it is a system that's a capitalist system, as Prof. Rasigan rightly puts it. It's a capitalist system with a particular mindset and the particular outcome, which is about write your paper, produce your research, and let us get IP out of it so somebody can make money. But does that benefit where you come from, your people? And you must remember your people. It may be a heavy thing to understand that wherever you walk, because you are all walking in hallowed ground, you are an elite. Don't ever forget that. Just because you look around in your class or in your research group or whatever the case may be, and you see people that look like you and think that you are the majority, you are not. You are in an elite class. And as an elite, you have a responsibility to question your privilege. You may have fought hard and still have NSFAS loans or whatever the case may be that put you there, but you are in a privileged position. How are you going to use that privilege? How are you going to use that privilege on the back of other people's knowledge? Because indigenous knowledge does not belong to any one of us sitting here. We are standing on giants who were never recognized for their invention. They were the real innovators and inventors. So we get it done. Prof. Galeni did talk about that reverse pharmacology. Vele Prof indlela ibuzwa kwabaphambili, fanele nhlehle, because that's the real recognition about where the knowledge comes from, the genesis of it. So when you walk in there and you start thinking it is my knowledge, you've lost it. You've joined the capitalist divide. And unfortunately, there does seem to be two sides. You've joined the eyes who only think about me and forget that there is very little that actually comes from here. Innovation is like that. You absorb it like osmosis. Tina, we understand that you'll all want a reason why you'll absorb it like osmosis, but it's like that. Humans never think, you're not an original. If you think you're an original, sorry for you. Breaking it to you, you are not. And I'm going to go to something that you all carry. You all have smartphones. There is very little in that smartphone that belongs to Samsung or Apple. It's all other people's discoveries. All of it. Yes, they will have their patents here and there, but that glass that you can touch was developed by a woman for some other application. GPS was for something else. And so understanding that it's normal that you will innovate based on somebody else's thing, so that you don't fight wanting to acknowledge the real knowledge holder. The saddest day for me was when we were sitting in a bioprospecting. So just because you can speak English or Melapi, you then get called to government things. I find myself on all kinds of things, and I must speak for knowledge holders, which is unfortunate, because my English does not mean that I can or should be speaking on behalf of them. Anyway, senkona. We're in this forum and talking about access and benefit sharing. And the established industry, I won't say who they are or what they are, I'll just say the established industry says they cannot sign an access and benefit sharing agreement because they can't find the community. And the government officials in that room accept that. One. My second one, I have seen a trademark given to someone on the name Impepo. Impepo is trademarked. I'm happy for your shock, because the ones who aren't shocked must ask the shocked ones why they're shocked. I won't tell them. It was granted by the South African government, Department of Trade and Industry. Yes, it's not. It's not. I tell a lot of stories. There's a lot of stories real. So you can see that the problems are deep. Are deep. And I'm now going to be even more politically incorrect. That certificate was not signed by a white person. Somebody, he's late, but I know that a trademark does not die. He's late. And I don't know if he told anyone, because we are so bad at succession planning as knowledge holders as well, that maybe I know that that family is holding the trademark and the family doesn't know that they're sitting on something which is actually very valuable. And so when we talk about knowledge holders and their benefit, you can't stop at money. Money is nothing. Knowledge which they can use is everything. Because you, with your money, are buying knowledge that you are going to use. So is it real empowerment? For me, the other issue is, I know we say IK-based, which gives us a little bit of an exit point, because it then allows us not to follow the indigenous knowledge principles right to the end, because we said, no, it is IK-based. However, the global market likes the indigenous knowledge story. She will tell you that. But if we are not investing in documenting and verifying our stories, that they actually are not stories, they are real, it will always be very flimsy. Watch the Indians, watch the Chinese. TCM and Ayurveda are alive and well in India and China. Forget about the globe. They invest in their TCM and in their Ayurveda in their home countries. The drive to export came after. Tina, what are we looking for? Commodities to commodify and export. We leave the poor quality products that are sitting in those plastic bottles which contaminate them for the black market, which is where the knowledge comes from. And then we go and we make the pretty ones for the others. So we can't complain, Prof. Matsabisa, about export of top quality oranges when we're doing the exact same thing when it comes to our indigenous knowledge. Exact same thing. If you go to a market right now that services users of traditional medicine, of indigenous knowledge, the markets where they sell amadumbe from people's farms, or the sweet potato, not the one in packaged for Woolworths or whoever else, what do they look like? You elites, are you going to go and get it there? And yet the majorities, and yet it's based on our knowledge. And so for me, real change is when all of us ask ourselves, I've plucked this out of its natural environment and context. What is it like back there? Now this is not a story, it's also the truth, because apparently it seems we have a habit of doing this. If you follow the story of Marikana, because it's 10 years since Marikana, one of the reasons those miners were fighting, they weren't fighting, they were on strike, was that they had no living, they had no houses. If you go to Marikana across the road, there are proper houses for where the former white managers of the mine used to live. Bona bahlezi emkhukhwini. Those rock drillers do not have homes. But that's what we do. We're happy to pluck it out and don't care what is happening there. And then we're going to start cultivating so that we don't even have to go to the market to see the conditions under which those men and women who started selling themselves, who are now out of the value chain. We created another one, a bougie one for us. Nobody is looking at them. So yes, it's IK based, but philosophically, it's very much a capitalist system that does not benefit those knowledge holders. And if we then perpetuated that we will only talk to the ones that we recognize as knowledge holders without the chain, unfortunately, it's a village. It is a village. So the challenge for you as researchers, as innovators, as business people, because it's across the value chain, you must keep asking yourself that the originator of this, or wherever they come from, what have I done to plant back to what they have handed me on a silver platter? Thank you.
Okay, wow. Thanks a lot, Gokutabashe. I just want to ask just one question before we move to our next speaker. Well, I have two questions. One, but I'll ask you, I think, another one, maybe outside this room. I'll ask you another one outside this room. The one I wanted to ask you maybe is perhaps a little personal, but it's to do with, you know, when I listen to how you articulate your convictions and philosophies around issues of and how you regard how high, you know, the level of regard you place on indigenous knowledge. I always ask myself, you know, taking into account your experience with the South African Bureau of Standards, which ideally one would have, I mean, from where I'm sitting, I think you kept on questioning, you know, that system of standards, you know, and how much appropriate or suited it is, you know, for the kind of work that we are talking about. But as I say, that don't answer that. It's just a thought that goes through my mind when I look at both worlds and how you've played across them. But I just want to ask this, taking into account your comments around issues of capital and how strongly you feel about issues of benefit sharing. I don't want to say beneficiation, but the interests of the marginalized indigenous knowledge holders. What do you think would be the best model that would fairly accommodate the interests of knowledge holders when we take whatever that we have developed to the market? Because in this conversation, I always note that, you know, you are vehemently opposed to the capitalistic approach, you know, whatever that means. But I just want to ask, taking into account, I mean, the previous discussion that we've had, that when we talk commercialization can be in the form of revenue generation as defined in the IPAR Act, but in the same piece of legislation, commercialization would talk to socio-economic benefits for the people of South Africa. So I just want to ask, what do you think, be it an IK-based traditional medicine or any other bioinnovation that would emerge from indigenous knowledge, how best do you think such would be used to benefit, you know, the people who own the traditional knowledge? So would it just be in the form of us creating free access to the knowledge holders in terms of them being able to use for free the products that would have been generated from those, or would it be really sharing of financial benefits that would accrue from the broader commercialization of that? But whatever model, I don't want to give you options really, but if you could enlighten us from where you are sitting, how best do you think the interests of knowledge holders would be best served within the scheme of use or commercialization of indigenous knowledge-based products or goods or services?
I was going to ask if that's not one question. So I do have to answer the standards one because there's a group of young people here. I don't want them leaving with the impression that I think standards are not important. But I want them to question something, the understanding that standards are only important because I'm going to be measuring in milliliters. If you go to Umelapi and we package your medicine for you, we practice standardization all the time, and we practice individualized medicine, which is only now being recognized from the allopathic basis. So when we prescribe for you, we tell you, use 1 spoon in your house. Because maybe it's a privileged thing again that you'll have many different size spoons. Homes will usually have 1 spoon that they use for umuti. And because that's their spoon in that house, their bodies are now aligned to those measurements. And so that's why we will say, drink 1 mug. You drink a particular size mug. It's individualized to you, not to me. We're not the dressmaker's pattern, that everybody is individual. When I prescribe medicine or when I mix, I use my hand. Tomorrow I'm not going to use Mepahla's hand. So the standard is?
You.
So we standardize. It's just that just because we're not standardizing in what you will all recognize or you've been taught as standardization, the assumption is that we don't practice standardization or that we don't use specific measurements. Of course we do, all the time. All the time. And improvements as well. I mean, I think it's a myth that we don't want to improve. African medicine, you touched me, so I will digress. I'm already late. African medicine is not static. Our culture is not static. Because if it was static, it would be dead. Yeah. Nothing alive is static. So our culture is alive and very alive and well and thriving. And so that's why it is able to deal with even 2022 contexts and situations. Because as much as we all think we change, we actually don't change. People are the same today as they were thousands of years ago. But it's very, very dynamic. So for me, that standardization was always there. Hence, that's why we ran a committee and we had Abelapi in it. Because we now were saying, let us standardize amongst us rather than as the individual. Clearly, though, we were messing up the traditional medicine. I'll be the first one to acknowledge. But when you want to, there's a system in play, the global system. Yeah. And if we want to plug into it, we've got to be able to play the game. And once we know how to play the game, we then come back and then reformulate ourselves as well. That was always my small agenda, Ankh, now you know. In terms of the scheme of use, what we need to not be is lazy, to track the origins and genesis of something. I loved what Mepahla just spoke about, which is about the area of Sekhukhune. Yeah. Because if those plants are localized there, on what basis do you only take a small part of it when that is knowledge that is in that area? And so being able to think a little bit more creatively about where knowledge it comes from, where's the genesis of it. My particular practice is based in, it's in Amakosi in KZN. So all of my remedies are all medicinal plants that are found where? Of course. KZN. I may commercialize living where I live, which is in Gauteng. I live in Joburg. I practice in Joburg. But if you and I go into that market, a Faraday, you will see that those plants don't come from Joburg. Joburg has got nothing in there. They come from here, and they come from Lesotho. They come from Swaziland. They come from Limpopo. And so when you start seeing the plants speak, they have an address. That when you see the geography of the mixture, you can tell that, okay, this mixture is based on this locality, so that's where that knowledge is. And so it does require you to have more sophisticated, probably contracting. But think about it, lawyers in the room. What an awesome research it will be to come up with contracts which take into account that there's geographic location of the actual raw inputs as well as the knowledge. That's a multi-layered contract that you've got to put into place. So I've got no issues with assigning a beneficiary, but for me, a beneficiary is not an individual, nor is it a community in isolation of the broader knowledge in the area. It's got to take into account that our knowledge is contextual within a particular locality and a location and language.
Okay, thanks. Let's give you a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we'll quickly move to Jabulstone. I think we'll hand over to you. I think he had a clip that he needs you to play, but also I'll ask you to come and speak from here.
Thank you very much. Where do you click here? The black one, okay. First of all, just give a brief background about Jabulstone. You know, as Dr. Tabashi has mentioned here, you know, and Mapatle, I took a hairstyle that was like indigenous, you know, your lock market, your what you call dreadlocks. So that hairstyle was very unpopular, you know, and nobody wanted anything to do with that. So to me, I took the hairstyle and I commercialized it, you know. And once the idea of commercializing the hairstyle, then I had to come with the products to maintain the hairstyle, and I had to come with the service, you know, how to actually to achieve that style, you know. So it's been, you know, and out of that, and then I had to create the value chain in terms of the business, you know. So it was same as indigenous, but I had to take it, you know, all the way. But fortunately, I was born a street away from the father of the black consciousness. You know, I think that played a role in, you know, when I grew up, because that thing of black power was there with us, you know. So as the business moves, you know, the market, you know, I remember somebody said to me, you know, Jabulstone, my mother used the hairstyle when she was still at Vets, but now I have to change, you know. So that is where you have to evolve. You know, the look and feel, you must not stop, you know, because the people get tired of that old look, but you must evolve. The new generation, first when I started, it was, you know, the lock market, you know, and now the young ones, they say, we need afro, we need braids, we need oils, but you have to evolve all the time. But still, from that hairstyle that was, you know, it was not fashionable, of course, when we started, yeah. So I'll just like to play a clip quickly that shows how we evolve from the old to the young ones, the people that we've used. Got it, eh? Where do you place? Oh yeah, there we are, okay. Carry on, just do it again.
We're here today to learn about natural hair. We're here to celebrate the brand Jabulstone and find out about the ingredients and find out about the brand itself.
What I'm particularly excited about is that this is a South African hair pioneer making products for our hair.
We're here to create some conversation and talk to people and find out what is it, the help that they will need to maintain that type of hair.
I One of the inspirations for my book actually come from my honors research that gives the message that your natural hair is beautiful, wonderful, and even magical.
It excites me a lot. I can see that really there is a revolutionary, and the women are taking pride in themselves now about their look.
As the brand manager, I actually learned quite a lot. I think it was a very good event. The ladies certainly had a lot to say.
I really did enjoy the conversations as well as the safe space in which women are able to talk about their natural hair.
Once one person opened up, it was sort of like a snowball effect, and we could all talk about
the confidence, being relentless, and just being unapologetic about having our natural hair.
What an amazing energy. You can see the way they embrace their natural hair, but you can see that they need more out of that. So I think this conversation is very important.
It's always good to engage directly with people that use the product, because that's where you actually get the motivation and the inspiration to come up with new products.
I was enlightened, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I love you even more now, and I love your products even more because I understand where you come from.
This is the beginning. So we are going to move forward and make sure every woman out there really will do what she really feels to do, not to be forced by the product that she has to buy in the market or the influence from outside. She has to decide what she wants to do. Thank you. Yeah, as I was explaining this, how you evolve. That is why I said any business, start afresh and then you move on with the youth. You can see all the people that I had there, there's like, none of them were at my age, they're all younger, So, and you must remember, at our age, you want to look younger. That is why we will always follow, So, I think I'm not gonna say much. The brand has been there for years. The only thing that I would say, to my sister about the tea, access to market, go out there, and also, you evolve as well. And also you don't stop marketing. You celebrate your endorsement, list your product in all the chain stores, because if you don't do that, because I'm in Joburg or in the Eastern Cape, then I want the product, so you must make sure it's otherwise somebody else will copy what you are doing and put more money. And don't stop. And also you must also look for some investors as well, to grow your business, So I would sit down and then I'll just wait for questions. Thank you.
Thanks. Let's give him a round of applause again. Thanks a lot, Bujabu. Let me just ask this question before we move to the next speaker. I understand that your brand is a few decades old. It actually is perhaps as old as our democracy in South Africa. But there are many elements of innovation, I think, in your story, which I quite appreciate. One of the things maybe that you didn't mention today is that before the advent of social media and what we call today influencers, if you look at hair care products or personal care products are best sold and marketed through what is called influencers. But I noted that this is something that you did many years ago, when you approached prominent figures, some in the arts, some in, I think, the likes of, that I can think of, Lawrence Dube, the likes of Silomage Kancube, public figures whom you did hair for, or whom you dressed, their hair to attract the same benefit that influencers, as we understand them today, are working. But this is something that you did before social media, which is quite commendable. And I think during the month of June, we learned that a big company, I think called Revlon filed for bankruptcy. And I think their bankruptcy was associated with how they missed out on the social media boom, because I think there were celebrities who actually were able to collapse what Revlon had been doing, because they were using influencers and their influencers were big figures were able, to steal whatever that was left of their market share. So I just want to ask, I've noted that over the years, we've worked with like old school people, like I've mentioned, but I've noted also that there's been younger figures that you've worked with, like Abu Zandile Msutwana, Simpwe Shabalala. I just want to know that, but you don't have to reveal anything confidential to us, but I just want to know that the arrangements that you could have, I think they were more based on goodwill back then. I don't know, with how life has changed. Is it possible today that you would go to an actor, for example, who shall appear on Mubango every day of the week and do their hair, and it ends there, like maybe it could happen back then that you could go to Silomage Kangube and just do his hair, and maybe your arrangement would just end there. Are there any, I don't know how to structure my question, but I think you hear my question. But my question is, influencers today, do they demand much more than what you could give, and you could have those arrangements? That's basically the long and short of it. But more than anything, is just to say, this is how, we salute your innovativeness, that you were able to do these things back then, even without the assistance of social media, but with the little, that was there, and we're able to all these things added something, to the traction that your brand has gotten. So I just wanted to ask that question around the value of influencers within the space of your business.
Thank you very much. It's the same as nowadays, because then we had what we call celebrity endorsement. So people like Abo Hostik Sipo Mabuse, your Ray Piri, Lucky Dube, Lawrence Dube. So those are the guys that I would approach. But it would be back to back, because if I would take care of Lawrence's, and then he has to come to the salon, and I'll give him products for free, and also the service. Every time he comes to the salon, then you'll get the hairstyle done. So it's the same thing with Spiwe Shabalala. Currently, we work the same way, and then we've got what we call the face of Jabustone. So when we had few salons, when Spiwe goes to Cape Town, he will go to any of our salons in Durban. So you do that, that back to back. With influencers nowadays, every time we launch a product, we have a gift pack, and then we give them, and then you'll see influencer shampoo the product and take a picture. But we give a basket as well, and then we give something as well, So you must have a back-to-back, but you need the celebrity endorsement, all the time. Those influencers, they must keep talking about your product all the time. And then people, they follow, like you talk about people like Abu Somizi. I would go to Somizi and meet up, give him a book, and then he will post that Jabu is giving me a book. Yeah. So you need such,
Yes.
Yeah, even if it's not going to be, but just do something, say, talk about it.
Okay. Well, thanks. Let's give him another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's a very interesting story. More questions will come from the floor, but for now, Prof. Mamo, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks. So very interesting discussions, but I think the time has been taken. So, sorry. I was just thinking the best way, just before I go to my PowerPoint, there's a few things I want to say. I am a senior academic member of the African Science, and I wrote on the Science Policy Africa. Africa, the origin of humanity, values, and knowledge. And I hope you just listen to me carefully. And this is something we don't know. None of us know, but I think you should know. Africa is the cradle of humanity, civilization, astronomy, science, mathematics, philosophy originated from Africa. There is a real challenge for Africans to understand that the difficult today and tomorrow can be transformed into a beautiful after tomorrow if Africans are prepared to look back the deep and rich cultural contributions made by the ancestors to help mend the current social economic reality that remains intoxicated with the colonial cultural liquor, failing to protect Africa from pervasive cultural repenetration from outside. Africa continues to be penetrable rather than being the real provider of its rich values and culture to liberate not only Africa, but also redeem and save all humanity. Now, sincerely speaking, what wasn't created in Africa? Binary logic mathematics, the mathematical system that you entirely use in the internet world came from us. If you give me an hour, I can give you the lecture, genuinely. What didn't come? Astronomy, everything, physics. In every sphere, we have been creators. Our ancestors have done it. Let me give you a few concrete examples. On the medicine side, pharmaceutical knowledge. In the British Library in King's Cross, I read a 9-page written by a German saying, all the pharmaceutical knowledge that we got it from the ancient Ethiopian manuscripts. Can I just tell you? The ancient alphabet, when Africa was called Ethiopia and Kemet, it was created thousands and thousands of years ago. The alphabet that Westerners said, a Western philosopher said, Stephen Robinson, he's from Sweden, he said, this alphabet expresses any voice in the world. And he said it's better and superior to the Roman and their alphabet. He said like that. And that alphabet, we don't use it. But let me just say to you now what we have done. We have now created an Afrilite with a good brother, Sunday Ojo. He's from Nigeria originally, but he's been teaching here in South Africa for many years. He's also now connected to UDT here in Durban. We created Afrilite, meaning how we can create all the languages of Africa. We're practical, we're not talking, we're doing. Sincerely speaking, I'll show you the link, you can look at it. I'm one of the directors. We're working on how to actually really liberate us also from language. Not depend on Francophone, Anglophone, Lusophone, all this phone. We're not a phone. We're philia, where Africa is philia. We need to also do that. Just let me give you another concrete example on food. We have the country where I was born, Ethiopia. All right, we have a crop called teff. Can I just tell you the sadness on this, about it? This crop is now being used in America, in Europe, Netherlands, even in Bloemfontein here, they produce it. The Afrikaners are the ones that do it here in South Africa. Can I just say to you, the patent of our own crop is in the hands of the Dutch. Why? And then, you know who fought for us? A German said, this is wrong. Let's not do it. You know what they did? After the German fought them, the Dutch again won again and took it back. The Ethiopian government, the Africa Union, South Africa government, they don't say anything. You should say no. This crop is going everywhere. I have written a paper with a graduate student, Helen, now she's in New Zealand, a paper on how this crop, this teff, is anti-cancer. It's so healthy. It's health. Eating that means, if you see all Ethiopian women, do you see any fat Ethiopian women? No. Because they eat injera. So I think I should take you all to eat injera. I'll pay the price for all of you. So all I'm simply saying to you is that there is so many things we have, but we're not doing it properly. Even this language, Ge'ez language, I wish I could show you how a German lady is speaking about it, almost taking about an hour, taking about how it's extraordinary how she describes it. Can I just tell you, over 21 universities across Europe and America teach it. None of us here teach it. We don't know it. This is our problem. So our indigenous knowledge has to be revived. So what did we do now? I don't want you to praise me or anything. We have now created what we call the International Internship University with support from the Indians. And we just had, in fact, a conference. I wish you participated on Saturday. We had a big, yesterday, I think it was Saturday yesterday. I was speaking yesterday with them. We are also producing this to create all the indigenous knowledge has to be revived, and we're working on it. Another one we have done is called Osiri University. I'm a board member there too. We're working, what we're trying to do is create from kindergarten to university, we must revive all this extraordinary knowledge that was created from Africa. The knowledge heritage, the spiritual heritage from Africa is extraordinary. We should really bring it. Let me just, if you put me the PowerPoint, I don't want to go through all of it, but let me just show you some of the things. Indigenous knowledge revival. Ubuntu is built, look, Ubuntu was built from us here. Why are we not using it? Why is it not in the education system? That philosophy creates our relationships. You are my brother, I'm you, you are I is you, you is I. What it means is, if I hurt you, I'm hurting me. So no hurting of each other. This extraordinary philosophy we have. Why would I hurt you? Better I hurt myself than hurting you. This extraordinary philosophy came from here, from South Africa. Ubuntu is built on the philosophy. There is an I in you and there is a you in I. We cannot be fully human alone. We are made for interdependence. We are made for family. Okay? Because you, I am, because you, we are. Time now with Ubuntu to undertake, rethinking, yes? Thinking, reframing, framing, relearning, learning, redoing, doing, retransforming, transformation, reperform, performance, and reform, reformation. When you have Ubuntu, you embrace others. You are generous, compassionate. If the world had more Ubuntu, we would not have war. We would not have this huge gap between the rich and the poor. You are rich so you can make up what is lacking for others. You are powerful so that you can help the weak, just as a mother or father helps their children. Now, Maat embodied foundational values of love, life, creativity, awareness that work to inhibit or isolate Iseft, life's entropic tendencies, by an inner matrix of virtues, order, balance, harmony, compassion, reciprocity, justice, truth. Maat cannot easily translate into European languages. African universal values of Maat, Ubuntu, and others make Africans associational, not individual. Ethiopianism, Pan-Africanism, the African Renaissance have powerful values, principles, and ideas to bring faster the unity of Africa. But everyone in Africa, from elementary to tertiary, must learn and make mindset shift from division to unity of all Africans living as one human family. Trust me, in the 50 years of the Organization of African Unity, who is African? What is African? I was asked to give a lecture. I wish you could see my definition of a lecture. I said, we should not define Africanness with ethnicity, language, religion, anything, any of these divisions, tribe. No, we should define by consciousness. This consciousness, with our Ubuntu, we should define ourselves differently. Julius Caesar, ex Africa semper aliquid ad. Out of Africa comes always something new. Let the current new from Africa be to practice Ubuntu, to make Africa become free from poverty, unemployment, inequalities, conflicts, wars, religious, ethnic, gender, and all other divisions, to bring social justice and social solidarity. We should go for that. The problem of unending poverty, okay? Apply Ubuntu to deal with the 4 challenges confronting Africa, not just Africa, the world. The problem of unending poverty, inequality, unemployment has not been replaced with additive and multiplicative well-being for all the people. The world is going through demographic explosion, climate change, with informal and agricultural economy remaining still largely where the majority of the people live. The 4th challenge is now the global COVID, as you all know it. We are now also entering into what's being described as surveillance capitalism, which is cybercrime, cyber warfare, cyber terrorism, which is connected to the digital age of the 4th industrial revolution. Now we're moving from industrialization to digitalization, and we're having a problem. Ubuntu to change the African education system, to create an African unity for Renaissance project identity, to promote smart growth based on unified knowledge, all right? Learning and innovation. Inclusive growth that combines the knowledge of the community with the knowledge from the academy. Sustainable growth that utilizes natural resources by combining the human, natural, spiritual worlds with moral intelligence. African Union Education Commission must be established to create the African free education system with Ubuntu including indigenous knowledge. Trust me, in 2015, we sent a concept note for the African Union to set up this African Education Union. My friends from America, we connected, we're from different parts of Africa, we are together. The African Union did not respond. No, sincerely, it's really sad. We said, let's create the indigenous knowledge, and we did it nicely. I can send you the concept note. When you read it, you'd be amazed. I mean, we did it nicely, but they didn't listen to us. Why is that? Because we are not Europe. Who pays the money? Who decides the agenda? Africa should never be donated, trust me. We are the donators. Huge amount of resources flow out of us every year. Nearly 70, 80 billion. Every year they take from us. And they say they didn't, as if whatever they give us is nothing compared to what they take from us. Huge amount of resources. You in South Africa, should any South African be poor and a beggar? No, 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 no. Forgive me, I have been here nearly 15 years now. I'm not happy. No. Seeing people pop up on the street, I have to always have money. I don't want to pass by without giving them something. It makes me angry. I swear to you. No, it's not nice. You don't need to beg in South Africa. You are so rich. You have 16 minerals, trillions you have. What I know you have amazing, you have twice the size of Ethiopia, and your population is nearly 60 million. Nothing. What don't you have? Why should anyone be? Why don't you create a sovereign wealth fund? Look in little Norway. That's nothing compared to what you have. But look what they have become. With a sovereign wealth fund, everyone is a millionaire. You could be like that here in South Africa too. Is there any way you could advise the government to tell them to create a sovereign wealth fund? All the mineral resources must be owned by the people of South Africa. Not the government, not the private companies, the people. There should be a wealth fund, a sovereign wealth fund, created on your name, and then the sources of funding should be allocated, where you also get encouraged. You see, what the Norwegians do is, when they give them money, they ask them to create more things. So they create more things. Then they become even richer. You get me? From the wealth, you get more. So the country becomes richer and richer. A small little country with nothing is richer. A rich country like South Africa, the majority of the young people are unemployed. Over 37% of the young people in South Africa, they say, are employed. This is not nice. Forgive me, I love you, you're nice people, genuinely, from my heart. And even this year, about 10 of my PhD students, all of them South Africans, they got PhD. I fight for them all the time, work with them. I say, be my teachers. And some of them even set up venture startups. I mean, I have a course that make them do that. If they don't do that, I don't give them marks. So I say, be my teachers. Let me be your student. When do I become a student? When they create venture startups. Isn't that right? And they do it as a team, not individuals. And I say, do it, and they do it. I'm so happy with you. I love you for that, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, because it just makes me so happy to see that you have done it. And then now in Bloemfontein, they come over Christmas, around New Year area, they came, Papa, Mama, Dad, they call me Dad. We've become okay now. We are doing these things. You see, you say things like that. There's a lot you could do, trust me. The sky is the limit for all of you. But the opportunity is not done properly. But let me just say, Ubuntu continued from primary, secondary, higher education, and beyond the people's work life, expanding education to community, society, expanding education to business and industry, every African to become all-time learner and creator with the knowledge, learning, innovation, competence system throughout one's life. I'm just going to finish quickly. Develop or identify common core educational curricula for kindergarten, elementary school, high school, college, and universities. Harmonize and monitor the implementation of common core curriculum across member state educational institutes in all schools to tertiary university. Develop and monitor the implementation of Mama Africa curriculum in all member states in all schools. How our ancestors lived peacefully before colonialism. We could do it. Mama Africa Module 1. How Africa dealt with colonialism and survived. Mama Africa 102. The birth of Pan-Africans. How Africans live now in the post-colonial period. Mama Africa 103. The African Unity Delay Resolution with Ubuntu Future, Mama Africa 103. It could go on like that. Create accreditation standards. Standardized qualification and accreditation of African higher education institutes. Do not outsource it. Develop an all-Africa-wide African-focused curriculum on African history, economy, indigenous knowledge, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and culture. Create awareness on principles of African Union, Pan-Africa. Create self-confident, responsible, accountable generation for Africa to stop talking unity, promoting conflict, division, and corruption. Enlight African, adding, adding Ubuntu value in the ongoing process, enlighten African young generation with the latest development in scientific research in different areas and of the political, cultural, ecological change that's ongoing in Africa. Educate African children of the unique challenges faced by Africa, including questions of African unity, Pan-Africanism, regional integration, education and culture, youth, gender issues, health, cultural diversity, creativity, arts, culture, development, intercultural dialogue within Africa, peace and environment, climate change, urbanization, scientific research and innovation, healthcare, sustainable development, good governance, South-South cooperation, relationship with African diaspora, IK, and STEM education. We have also created a South-South collaboration center. In fact, I got it registered already. And in fact, we are running a China-Africa Science Technology Innovation cooperation or collaboration conference on October 9 and 10. All of you can register. I'll show you the link. You can just register and you could come. We'll look after you. So, new Pan-African Education Commission, let's all petition to get the Africa Union Education Commission or the Pan-African to be approved by the Africa Union, making this Pan-African education to work in line with the AU social policy framework and in partnership with African nations, education ministers and academic institutes across Africa to strengthen and develop continent-wide core curriculum, accreditation parameters for all the African youth with Ubuntu by working with experts throughout Africa. So this Pan-African Education Commission pulls Africa's subject matter expertise in education to develop Mama African curriculum, set of parameters to accredit African professionalism by Africa Union for good without external interferences. So the new curriculum structure with Ubuntu, I have designed it. You can put it like that, but I don't need to go through all of it now. A new hybrid synthesis of Ubuntu. Even African development has to be anchored with Ubuntu values. There's a need now to build new synergy between development and innovation system. Economic gain to make profits not sufficient. There must be social well-being gain and environmental protection gains. Synergize informal with formal economy, indigenous with modern, all knowledge and not merely prioritize the economic variable by excluding the social environmental gains to undertake both innovation and development. The development of innovation theories have evolved mainly dominated by economics field. There is a need to generate problem-based knowledge creation by applying all the disciplines using the unity of knowledge. We need a unified conceptual framing and theories linking innovation system with tangible and measurable development, comprehensive health, human nature safety. I was able to develop a book on putting Africa first, the making of African innovation systems. It was in 2003. I'm going to get it rewritten also, hopefully this year or next year. I'll republish it again. I hope you could read all that book. You really need that to read that book. Even a lot of Westerners were supporting me because they were just fascinated by the book. Please, please do, please. Ontology, epistemology, axiology with Ubuntu. The ontology, epistemology, and axiology of innovation with development need transformation by rethinking them to address the challenge the world is going through. We have now digital gangsters and cybercrime and social media awash with regular explosion of all kinds of morally and emotionally not intelligent information. I don't know whether you listen to the South African news, 702, all these others. All they talk about is problem. Have you ever heard anything constructive? No, sincerely, I get so sad. Remember when they had this women's something day or something month? All they talk about is how women are attacked. How women, can't they tell us something new? I mean, what good things you guys, like what your sisters are doing today? I mean, why don't they tell us, why don't they report this? Why don't they report what you just said today? You educated us a lot. Why don't they tell us that our women are also wonderful? They create extraordinary ideas. Why talk about all this rubbish thing? Sex, oh, Jesus, no, it's not nice. Genuinely, I'm not happy with the way. Is there any way we can change the media too? You know, they need to focus on our people's lives so that to improve, so we learn something, so we can assist them, we can help them. No, is there any way we can change the media? Please, please. Please, there is a need for transformative innovations that can contribute to a well-being anchored development of both humans and nature. So Ubuntu for Africa to manage digital time. Let Africa move from the physical world to the digital world and into the knowledge economy with a smart, integrated, green, innovative Africa. I wrote a paper with Abigail Chibandi is her name. She's at Wits University. She's originally from Zimbabwe. She was my postdoc. We wrote a paper on green Africa. I wish you could read the paper. I'll send it to you if you want. Let Africans also try to develop sovereign wealth fund to make the people own the rich African wealth that still continues to be exploited by those who are not Africans, except those who collaborate with the external exploitees of Africa. No need to depend on loans, aid, and debt. Better to undertake all transformation and production by engaging all the people, like Ethiopia did in building the Ethiopian Grand Renaissance Dam. All the people, the only people Ethiopia paid, all of us paid. It's the people of Ethiopia that are raising the resources to build the dam in the Nile. No loan, no debt, okay? No aid. I prefer that we build it like that. The African Union should not have been built, but why do the Chinese have to buy? Why couldn't we build our own building? Africa, we call it African Union and China builds it. Who should be more upset? You and me. We should all be upset. What don't we have? The DRC Congo has resources estimated to 24 trillion. That's the combined gross national product of all of Europe and America in 2009. Now the gross product has grown in America and Europe. But in 2009, it was ahead. DRC had resources alone, the gold, all this, the coltan, everything. What don't we have? What do we have in the DRC Congo? The Belgians and the French, and then the regional countries, Uganda, Rwanda, all the fighting. Why are we doing this? And then look at also in South Africa, about the mines, everything. Why are they doing this to us? How do we change them? Please, let's all the young people be the change makers and game changers. Just say to them, don't do this. Make it, the people of South Africa must own the mines of South Africa. No one. No rich person must do it. No. No. Say that. Please. No, no, no. So let's continue to do research guided with Ubuntu. We have been working on how to apply this transformative innovation development to Africa. The book we produced on putting Africa first, the Making Africa Innovation System, highlighted the critique of the current development promoted by both national and international organizations. No imitation of national innovation for Africa, no imitation of development economic for Africa. Africa needs a contextually anchored new model that synthesizes innovations with an African integrated and sustainable development innovation system. Rethinking development with Ubuntu, there is a need to undertake a rethinking and reinvention of innovation and development from the current pattern to the transformative new synthesis by taking the challenge Africa faces to discover how the problem will be resolved by creating innovative and developed well-being anchored Africa to serve above all the people and nature together. So, reimagine Africa with Ubuntu, embedding a total innovative culture, transforming Africa through knowledge, learning, innovation, competence building, establishing a Pan-African innovation system by learning and building from the past inventions, innovations, and indigenous knowledge. Using the rich values of Africa, Ubuntu Mat, to use Africa-centered innovation knowledge without transgressing social and ecological health. So, concluding, learn to find the unity pathways by teaching each other with Ubuntu how to share, and it is true with Africa Unity, we can make each other how to care by prioritizing Africa and all African people above all, more than oneself or another. So we need to change ourselves. Let us do the unity by appreciating difference, learn to find the unity pathways by teaching each other with Ubuntu how to share, and it is true that Africa Unity, we can make each other how to care, as I say, by prioritizing Africa and all African people above all, more than oneself to another. So all Africans put our beloved Africa first. To acknowledge to put Africa first is to put humanity first. The world is still divided by implicit or explicit classification of inferiority and superiority. Africans have not yet fully removed coloniality. They still prefer to look and affirm each other by mimicking externality. Africans must treat one another as one human family, practice Ubuntu truly, as you are me and me is you really, as no African is a stranger to another African. So not all call some Africans as relatives, others as aliens. Africaphilia must replace all the divisive forms that turn the African one family as the strangers. Let us learn how to care and share with full collaboration and trust, knowing how to agree even when we disagree, without any conflict and fight. Apply the relativity of African unity by removing ever the gravity of disunity and conflict. Unity is essential, never again for Africa to fall behind. Africa uniting, colonial divide and rule ending, and truly humanity as a whole and everywhere benefiting. With Ubuntu, all Africans coming together, showing the necessity to recognize full equality, to build with the cherished philosophy of Ubuntu, one in all in one, all Africans as one human family and humanity. Let's all choose with Ubuntu the pathway to create, invent, innovate, and value the health as wealth for people above all else in Africa. Asante sana. Thank you. Yes, the link is there, so you can see the links. Sorry, I know you are all tired, but I hope I didn't take a long time.
Thanks.
And there's a journal we have, which is very necessary for South Africa. So it's called Journal for Creativity, Innovation, and Social Entrepreneurship. We need social innovation, social entrepreneurship. In South Africa is much necessary. So please also get to know it. So I leave it here, whoever wants to take it.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Prof. Mamo, for such an inspiring presentation. I want to ask, because of time, ladies and gentlemen, I'll just open, maybe by show of hands, any person who's got a question to any member of the panel. So whatever that you'd like to ask to Prof. Mamo or to Pujabu or Ms. Pasha or Goktabash, we'll take all those questions. But if you can raise your hands now so that we know if we have any questions from the floor. Okay, I see one hand. Okay, I will take that just as, yeah, ma'am, you may.
Thank you so much, everyone. My name is Nontobe Gozulu. I am from the University of Johannesburg. I am a PhD candidate. Firstly, I would like to thank you all for all the information. It was all relevant from the ladies to the gentlemen. But I only have a question for Ubabu Jabu Stone. I just want to ask, when you started, did you have any funding when you started? And then if yes, what is the relationship now from your funding to your funding, with your funding scheme? Because sometimes I do hear people complaining that when they fund you, the funders come back and they want their money back if the business doesn't fail. And number two, how many failures, how many times did you fail, or if you any faced any failure? Because I know most entrepreneurs, they do face some challenging, and sometimes they have failing business. Did you try the business once? Did it fail, and then did you continue, or you just first tried it and then it's just worked from the go? I just want that. Thank you.
Thank you for that. You know, any business, you know, you'll always have those turbulences all the time. You know, when I started, remember, when I started, there was no market. Nobody believed in what I was doing. You know, so there was no market. Nobody wanted to look like Rastafarian, dirty, you know, unholy and all those things. So people gave it names. But because I believed in the hairstyle, because I was, I didn't like the chemical side of it, because I would see at my sister's salon when they put the relaxers and, you know, it will bend the scalp. Nobody believed in me, so there was no funding, no bank, nothing. So the only thing that I had to do was to use the celebrity endorsement, where I would, you know, talk to the celebrities so they can spread the word. You know, then the people started now looking for the product. Then I used the pooling strategy, because even those shops didn't want to keep the product on the shelf, because they said, why should you keep the product on the shelf? Nobody wants to buy it. You know, you go to the salons that you teach them how to lock the hair, and they realize that they take 3 hours to do that locking service, and the other, they take about 45 minutes. It's the same price. So there was no market. It was just an uphill all the way, but because I believed in that. Now, fast forward, you know, after I've created the demand and the hairstyle, now the people started to, you know, to be in need of the hairstyle now. And the product started to grow. Now, fast forward, the bank didn't even want to look at me, because I didn't have a loan, I didn't have anything. Nobody wanted to even look at my business, because they would ask me, Stone, why don't you do body lotion instead of this thing? You know, but because I believed in it. Now, fast forward, the banks were after me, asking me, how much money do I want, you know, the overdraft and all those things. So you try and build. If you believe in your business, build it yourself. You know, create the demand. So hence, you know, people like your wholesalers, once you list your product there, they would say, we'll pay you after 30 days, after 60 days. But with me, because I had the pooling strategy, people went to look for the product on their shelves. Then when they called me, I told them how I want to work with them. I told them that I want my money in 5 days. I cannot carry them. So fortunately, because of that, and then I managed to sustain my business without getting a loan from anybody. The only thing that needed me to, funding is growth. Because remember, you supply the whole continent, But now, before you start in South Africa, but for you to go to Mozambique, Botswana, you need funding. Somebody must put money so you'll be able to, to supply the market. That's the only time. But even selecting your partners, you must be very selective as well, because your shareholding, all those things, make sure that you don't give out a lot. You make sure that you still hold the majority shares, and then you are in, because it's your idea, it's your baby. They just invest there. The venture capital, they want to put money and get money back, more money. But for you, it's your baby. So that's how I grew my business, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Any other hand? The Jabblestone story, I'm sorry I'll have to make this comment. I think far beyond, how, what you see in your balance sheet, I'm not sure if you have a good appreciation of how much value you've added, to Africans in South Africa, into them embracing their own identity. I know people, when your business started around those years, in the early to mid 90s, even late 90s, who, when they were shortlisted for a job interview and they had dreadlocks, they had to cut them to increase their prospects of getting employment. And those who would be successful, despite them having maintained those, who would be given that kind of condition that we can't work with you, with this hairstyle. You have to cut your hair, and I think for corporate South Africa to have embraced professionals today, it's because before your work came to the fore, maybe what threads were not that neat. So as you entrenched, that confidence in us embracing who we are, you also made available, these products that got people, to it easier for people on the other side, to embrace who black people truly were. So I just want to say again, whenever we hear of your story, to us, that doesn't escape us. I saw a hand. Do we have another hand after him? Okay, I think that is the last hand.
Thank you very much. Mine is actually a comment to the good presentation that was done. My name is Mpoma Tonsi. I'm from the DSI, Africa Bilateral Cooperation. I will start with Prof, my good friend, Prof Moma. The people who are fighting in DRC are not Chinese. They are our fellow brothers, they're Africans. So it starts here, the coloniality of the mind. So the sooner we make sure that we empower each other here, to remind each other that these are our resources, we will create a conflict as Europeans. While you are focusing on the fighting, we're exploiting the continent. Our leaders are aging. I'm sorry for this, including your Prof. You are telling me about Agenda 2063. You won't be there. You won't be held accountable. You will be in Europe. You will be in Europe. So what the point I want to drive home is that we are talking about Agenda 2063. We won't be holding these leaders accountable in 2063 while Africa is left with a shell. It is young people who needs to drive the economy. We are not going to be the generation of 1976 who will take up arms and go to the streets. Let's fight smart. Let's be innovative. Let's come with ideas that will say we are empowering young people. Let's come up with ideas that will say, I'm going to develop a smartphone. I'm a South African and I want to get my coltan or cobalt in DRC. And I want to stop the import of DRC minerals to the European markets. Let our minerals circulate amongst ourselves. We'll address the issue of conflicts in the continent. To Uprajabu, a very good presentation, my brother. And it's a pity that we Africans, we are colonized. We believe but there is Prajabu that somebody who was born in 2000 doesn't know Prajabu. Because our markets are not open to our own products. We embrace, if you go to our shelves in certain chain stores, it's all these markets that I've mentioned, Tiolore. Uprajabu, they gave him a potion like this. So let's change it there again. I'm sorry again, I'm an African, but our apples are not allowed in Botswana. Our very own apples. Go to Woolworths, there's strawberries from Brazil. We as Africans, what are we saying? We are focusing on wrong things that the media is feeding us. We are ignoring what is happening behind. So let's start here. This is the platform for young people to come with innovative ideas to say, I want to introduce this. Let's have our own app where we will sell our own products. Let's be innovative. Let's be creative. Okay, you've got the market, you've got the shelves. You don't want us to buy from, or you don't want to give us the slots to sell our products in your shelves. Let's have an app for Africans to sell our own products. And move away from your shelves because you're not giving us the space. Let's fight smart. Thokozani Gogo. You know, it's so sad that during COVID-19, everybody was talking about the eucalyptus oil. And as we drove in, there's a bilgom tree outside. It's there. We can't just go there, Tina, as Africans, pick it, boil it, and then sibe mnandi, because it has to have a barcode. We've got the solutions, but we don't embrace them. So let's work together to make sure that we appreciate our own products. To Setsong, I've been traveling all over, meeting the product. Actually, your brother, Sitaba, it's a long story. So your product, many people doesn't know it because it has to be a certain coffee from a certain brand. Our young people are saying, I only take Nescafe. But we don't recognize our indigenous. Let's have innovative platforms to market our products, to sell our products. Let's be united. Let's share innovative ideas to say how best can we capture the market, because they think they have captured the market and they've got the media to advertise their products. It's okay, because if you go tomorrow to a certain broadcaster and say, I want to make a 30-second ad, you'll pay a fortune. Let's come with innovative ideas. Let's stop TikToking. Let's sell our products there. Thank you.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was the end of our session. Prampo is my political principal, so I can't talk after him. So I just want to thank our panelists. Let's give them a round of applause again. And we also thank each one of you for just being attentive and participating and waiting, until we got to this point. We truly appreciate it. Thank you.